Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, A Good Listen, where I sit here and tell you about a recent Audible book that I've listened to in story format, and I reveal the book where today's story has come from at the end of the video. So if you're a fan of horror, thriller, or mystery novels, or you just like hearing good stories told in those genres, then you come across the right channel, because that's all I'm going to be doing, and I'll be posting once or twice a month. So without further ado, let's get into today's story. Today we're going to take a break from our normal haunted, creepy house stories, and we're going to dive into a psychological thriller. I'm so excited to cover this story. Margot is a successful psychologist with a full booking of clientele. One day she gets a referral from one of her good friends at a university to see a patient, a student of his. And his concern was that this particular student named Carmack was a very, very intelligent student, but he was doing something that was very dumb in a sense. His student was, or Carmack was, forging or writing other students' papers, and he was doing it for a small fee. Now, this was concerning to the professor because Carmack was on a full ride scholarship, and he knew that if he had gotten caught for doing this, that he would lose his full ride scholarship. And even though he knew this, he kept doing it. And not only was he doing it, it was just for a small fee. He ends up getting caught, he ends up getting kicked out, and he ends up losing his full ride scholarship. And this is concerning to this particular professor because he kind of felt like Carmack was doing this to purposely get caught. And that's why he felt like he should see a psychologist. In addition to that, the university said that, because of his concerns, that if he saw a psychologist, there's a possibility that they will reinstate his studentship and his full ride scholarship. So Carmack obliges and he goes to see Margot, the psychologist. During their sessions, Carmack reveals that one of the things that he's dealing with is something that his father did. He feels that it's because of his father that he and his sister are in the situation, in the living situation that they're currently in. He reveals that his dad fell in love with the wrong woman. He fell in love with another woman besides his mom. And this other woman broke his father's heart so bad that caused him to then attack his mother and other family members. His mom survived the attack, but his father ended up committing suicide. And so Carmack blames this other woman and his father for the tragedies and the therefore sequence of events that followed that situation that he and his sister had to then deal with. Margot takes note of this, but unfortunately, as he's revealing this information, their session time is over. And so Margot closes up shop. She heads home. Now, while she heads home, she's starting to walk into her house, and she notices that there was a car that followed her from her office to her house. She sees this car, she looks at this car, and the car kind of just rides by, and she kind of just takes note of the type of car it is, but she kind of just blows it off. And she goes into her house where she lives with her husband, her daughter, who's the oldest, and her son, who's the youngest. So she goes in there, she goes into her house, and she notices that there's flowers in the house. And she naturally assumes that the flowers are from her husband, but her husband makes it very clear that the flowers are not from him. So she smells the flowers, she looks at the flowers, and she reads the card, and she notices that the flowers are from a boy named Hudson, and they're to her daughter. So she calls her daughter down. She talks to her daughter, like, who's this Hudson guy? And she was like, Mom, this is my boyfriend. Like, don't be weird about it or whatever. Now, Margot is a little bit concerned about her daughter having a boyfriend at this point because her daughter had a previous relationship and it ended. And her daughter was, like, devastated. And she fell into, like, this deep depression over this relationship. So she's kind of apprehensive about her daughter hopping into another relationship. But, she kind of holds back her feelings and her comments about the relationship because she doesn't want to push her daughter away. She doesn't want to push her further into the arms of this boy. So she kind of keeps her mouth shut and she moves on about her day. Some nights go by. Margot and her husband are in bed and this is during nighttime, so they're in bed and they are awakened by some glass breaking in the house. They hear some glass breaking from downstairs in their home. They hop up, they throw on clothes, and they rush out their bedroom, and they are met with thick smoke. Their house is on fire. So they run, they grab their children, they evacuate the house, they get out of the house, and they're literally watching their house burn pretty much. As they're outside just trying to wrap their mind around what's going on, Margot notices a piece of paper at the front of her door. So before the fire department, the police department, and all of them comes, Margot goes over to her door. She picks up this paper and she looks at it. And this paper has disturbing, horrible images on there. Also, the images are accompanied by a threatening message. So she gets this and she's really like afraid and scared of what this means, because in her mind, obviously, this fire is starting to look more like an intentional set fire rather than just an accident. The fire department shows up, and after they put the fire out and do an investigation, they notice that, or they reveal to Margot and her family that yes, indeed, this looks like arson. And so Margot, being a psychologist, she deals with some interesting and disturbing clients. And so her mind naturally goes to like, did one of my clients do this? So she proceeds to go to work and still see these same clients. And now she's looking at her clients through a different lens. She's kind of got her investigative eye on. She's kind of trying to figure out which one of her clients followed her home that day, started this fire, and left this disturbing message with this disturbing image on there. And so she kind of pinpoints, she kind of narrows it down and zooms in on this one client that she has. And she is convinced that this particular client, this guy, is the one who has done all these things. A couple of days later, she's at her office and her receptionist receives a package. Not necessarily, it wasn't sent to her, but she's the one who signed for the package. She gets the package, it's for Margot's practice. And so the receptionist opens the package, and as soon as she opens the package, she screams and then she throws up because there's something really disturbing and disgusting inside the package. Margot takes the package into her office. She looks at it and she sees the nasty, disgusting thing that's inside of there. And she's appalled that somebody sent this to her. So she calls the police. The police come, they take the package, and they continue on with their investigation. And they give the staff there some advice on how to try to keep safe. So Margot sends her receptionist home, and she ends up dropping a bug in the detective's ear that she thinks that this particular client of hers fits the bill of somebody else, a possible suspect. And so the detective takes notes of this information, and Margot kind of proceeds on with her day. The next day she comes in, and her first appointment is supposed to be with Carmack, but Carmack is late. So she asks her receptionist to reach out to him. She reached out to him, and the receptionist can't get in contact with him. So Margot calls Carmack to see if everything's okay, to see, why he hasn't shown up for his appointment. When she speaks to him, Carmack tells her that, unfortunately, he can't continue on seeing her because he can't afford it. He doesn't have the money to continue to pay for their sessions. However, he does want to thank her and show his appreciation for her because she has truly helped him in the couple of sessions that they have had. So he asked her if she would meet up with him for coffee. Margot ethically knows that she is not supposed to be meeting outside with any of her clients. However, she then considers that Carmack can't afford to see her, so he's no longer her client. So against her better judgment, she agrees to meet with him. He sends her the address of the coffee shop that he wants to meet up with her at to show his appreciation and thank her. And so she goes to this address, and this is not a coffee shop at all. It's a full-blown nice restaurant. And so she is pissed because this is going way beyond her ethical morals of her interactions with her clients. She still goes into the restaurant. She is going in there because she's going to tell Carmack that this is inappropriate, that he shouldn't have lied to her. And had she have known that this was a restaurant, she wouldn't have met up with him. So she goes inside the restaurant and she sees Carmack. Carmack knows instantly that she is pissed, and he knows exactly why she's pissed, because he manipulated her to go to this restaurant. So they sit down. He ends up putting on the charm. He puts on this great smile, and he just, the charm is on 100, okay? And so she ends up ordering a glass of wine. They're in there talking. Next thing she knows, Carmack leans in and kisses her. She is upset. She is pissed, and she leaves. A few nights later, she gets a phone call from the police department letting her know that late in the night that her practice was set on fire. And so her practice is now gone. So she had to uproot and find a different place to continue on seeing her clients. In the midst of all of this happening, Carmack starts to flip. Like, his whole personality and everything changes. And he is now starting to harass Margot. He ends up sending Margot a photo of that night that they met at the restaurant and he leaned in and kissed her. He sends her a photo of that night, but in the photo it actually looks like Margot's kind of embracing him while they're kissing, so it looks very deceiving. So she is just like on edge. Somebody has burned her house, has burned down her practice, is leaving threatening messages, sending packages with disgusting things inside of it. And she's just on edge. And now she has one client that she told the detective already that she thought was a suspect. And now she has another client that may be a potential suspect, because now he's harassing her and he's sending her this photo of them kissing. And so she's just all over the place. Like, her mind is just consumed. Carmack, in addition to harassing Margot ends up contacting Carmack and telling him like that he needs to leave her and her family alone. Like, she doesn't want anything to do with him. He needs to stop sending these photos and like just leave them alone. Carmack is like not even addressing what she's saying. He's very nonchalant during the whole conversation, and he lets her know like, hey, this is a bad time right now. I can't really talk. I'm about to catch a flight leaving out of town. And he was like, we'll discuss this when I get back. So Margot hangs up the phone. She ends up going home. When she goes home, her husband like instantly meets her at the door, but he also tells her like, hey, don't get mad. And she's like, why not? And he lets her know that her daughter's boyfriend is here for dinner. And so up until this point, Margot and her husband have not met, heard, or seen this boy that their daughter is dating. Like, the only thing they know about him, he's literally just a name on a card for some flowers that he sent. That's all they know. And so Margot walks into her house and she lays eyes on her daughter's boyfriend for the first time. And when she lays eyes on him, she is like stunned. She's shocked. Her stomach dropped. She cannot breathe. She cannot speak. She is horrified and terrified at who she's looking at, who is standing in front of her, who her daughter's boyfriend really is. And if you want to know who her daughter's boyfriend really is and who is the real person who is guilty for setting fire to her house, to her practice, leaving that disturbing message, leaving those disturbing images, and if you want to know the nasty, disturbing thing that was sent in that box to her office, in addition to all the twists and turns that this book takes you through. I mean, this book literally leaves you on the edge of your seats. Then I highly suggest that you guys listen to and or read Tell Me Lies by J.P.Pomare. I hope I provided you with a little bit more detail that you would normally receive on an audiobook or on a physical copy of the book to entice you to read or listen to this story in its entirety and enjoy this amazing novel written by this amazing author for yourself. If you enjoyed today's story, then please like, comment, and subscribe down below. If you want to follow me on any of my social media platforms other than YouTube, please check out the description box because all my social media handles are listed down below. Other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.